This is Hellbrent for Leather, and you're watching Cast in the Act. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cast in the Act. Got a little bit different setup this time. Bought the tripod like I said I was going to, so hopefully it'll help me stay a little more focused on the screen and on the camera as opposed to just looking around and such. Wanted to do a recap video from going out to Blades of Steel on Friday evening to see the boys, as well as Crypt Sermon. Great band from Philly here in the States. If you like doom metal, a la Candlemass, but a little heavier, or maybe not heavier, a little more up tempo at times, and so on and so forth. These are your boys. Great band. So anyway, yeah, made the trek out to Madison on Friday. I left around the morning, 11:30, somewhere around there. Wound up pulling into the Crucible, which is the venue that it's held at, just short of maybe 3:30, so about a 4-hour trip. Got there about maybe an hour before doors opened. I met up with Randy, the promoter, introduced myself and such. Saw a friend of mine, Nikki, there, who I took some great photos of the show and such. I'm hoping to get back soon, and I'll try to share them through the socials and such so everybody can see them. I presume they were great photos. She had several vantage points. She was running around taking a bunch of photos, so I presume the photos she took will be awesome when I see them. But anyway, got there a little early. Went in and just kind of got myself acclimated to the place. I'd never been to the venue before and such. It's a cool little room. It serves itself well to a festival of that size. Not a large festival, but a festival of diehard fans. Let me put it that way. Everybody that showed up looked like they had a great time. It's a 3-day festival. I only got to go on Friday as I needed to get back home and get packed and such for my trip to Prague Power USA to work the festival next week, and then the following week heading over to the Netherlands to see Arion, both the band Arion, as well as a Satan crew member, Arion, Arjon, who lives in the Netherlands, that I'm hoping to meet up with as well. And more on that if it does happen. I got to meet him the other night, and lovely guy. Does a lot of the teching, just running around stage teching, guitar teching, so on and so forth for both Satan and Skyclad. So it'll be cool to talk with him about maybe both of those things, because as much as I love Satan, I love Skyclad too, and I've never been able to see them live. I'm hoping that changes eventually. I'd really like to go on the 70,000 Tons of Metal, where Satan and Skyclad are both going to be playing in late January, I believe it is. But I just can't make it work. So anyway, got there. There's several vendors there selling merch and so on and so forth, be it the bands, as well as there used to be a brick and mortar record shop in the Chicagoland area called Metal Haven. And the guy that owned it shut down the physical store years ago, but he still vends at various festivals and such. And he was there with a bunch of records and such. So I took a look through, and a bunch of cool things that I kind of wanted, but I'm trying to save my money for Europe and such. But I did pick up a compilation of Mithra, the band that never really put out a whole lot, but they did have some 7 inches and such, and then they got back together and put out something in like maybe 2017 or whatnot. But picked up that compilation of early material of theirs because it was cheap, and it's been on my list for a little while, as well as a band from Chicago called Sorcery that put out an album. I think they formed in like 73 or 75 and put out something not terribly long after that. An original OG copy is hundreds of dollars, but this was a nice official repressing. There's been some unofficials, but this was an official 2 LP repressing that I picked up of their debut album, and it not only is it good, I mean, I've heard it before. I have a bootleg 1 LP version that doesn't have the second LP. Kind of a waste if you ask me. But the prominence of it is a guy named Chuck Dorrington, who I'm friends with. I met his daughter many years ago in my hometown where I'm from, Athens, Georgia. Met her, and we actually started attending Prog Power together, and so I know them. And he was in the band at one point. He was not on the album as a full member, but he did record one song. I don't know if they used an earlier recording or if they had him come into the studio and do the song for that. So I picked that up too. It was pretty cheap. I'm going to jokingly ask him to sign it for me. I've known this guy for 20 plus years, so it's going to be pretty funny to see his reaction on it. He knows that I know that he was in it. We've talked about it before and such, but I've never tracked down a copy that I felt prudent going out of my way to have him sign it. Because like I said, all I had was that bootleg of it. But so yeah, grabbed those couple of things. Grabbed a Blades of Steel shirt and kind of waited on the boys to get there. Rexy told me they were going to be there between 6 and 7. Wound up not showing up until almost 8:30. Goddamn Chicago traffic. But they finally got through Chicago and got out to Madison and got there. Rexy came in and they got all the merch set up, him and Arian and such. And then he comes over to me and he goes, "Hey," and actually just for that's him there. So the story behind this guy is you early Satan fans may inadvertently know who he is. So on the Kiss of Death 7-inch, as well as on the Into the Fire demo tape, if you look on the inside of the tape, and then on the rear side of the 7-inch, it says, "For more bullshit about this band, write Ian Cleary," and then it has his address there. So this is Ian. His nickname's Rexy. His claim to fame in all of this is he was Satan's manager early on. He went to school with Steve and Graham and knew those guys and was their manager up until 87 or 88 when the guys had moved to London. He went with them, and then when they moved back to Newcastle, he opted not to go with them because he didn't really have any ties in Newcastle anymore. His mother no longer lived in Newcastle, and so he opted not to go back. They remained friends all those years, but he just didn't feel it prudent to go back to Newcastle with them. So he's back out on the road with them now. He was on their not the tour that just happened in March, but the tour before that, last October. He was out on the road with them, and that's where I had first met him. So he was kind of my point on the tour and such. You know, I chatted with Russ a couple of times and such, but Rexy's been sending me info from every night for me to post on the pages, you know, flyers or pictures from the shows or some short video and stuff like that. So I was stoked to see him. I was walking back into the venue from my car. I'd walked out there to drop some merch off, and they come pulling in the van, you know, hooting and hollering and yelling at me. So I let them go around and get set up and everything in the dressing room. He comes through, they get all the merch set up and such, and then he goes, "Hey, I've wanted to bring you some stuff for the greater archival museum project, whatever the hell you want to call it, where I'm trying to get as much info and artifacts together in one central place." He said, "You know, I don't really have a whole lot left over from those days, but something I do have that I want you to have is this here. These are 2 original circa 1983 Court in the Act patches." He handed me those and I lost my mind because I'd never seen those before. And that logo with the cross and then the SA and AN on either side of that cross making the T, that happens to be my favorite Satan logo. I don't know why. I love all the logos, but that one is absolutely my favorite. I'm going to wind up getting a tattoo that incorporates that in. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get it. It's probably going to be on this arm here because I don't have a whole lot going on here. Whereas I got the Mandalorian skull on this arm here, giant Star Wars fan. But I'm probably going to get that somehow. I need to kind of figure out how I want to do it. But so he handed me these, and wow, you know, that's really, really kind of him to give me those. So I put one immediately into the binder that I have that has all of press clippings and scans and so on and so forth that I've taken. And then the other one, I asked his permission. I have a denim vest that is mostly new wave of British heavy metal themed. I asked him if I could put one on there, and he said yes. So I really appreciate that. Wow, that's very, very, very cool, and I'm very happy to have those. So I chatted with him for a few moments, and chatted with Aaron for a few moments, and then he asked me if I wanted to go back and say hi to the guys. So he took me back there, as well as you know what? I'm going to get his name wrong, and I do not want to do that. So give me just a moment, and I will give you correct names, because that's how I try to be. So let's see. 3 guys that I met at the show that are cool guys. Let's see. Chris Kells is one for sure. I just got to get Sean's last name correct. So yeah, you got Chris Kells, Sean Weingartner, and Mark Kadzilawa, I believe is how you say it. Kadzieelawa. That guy's been on the scene for a while. He's got a YouTube channel, which I don't want to get incorrect. 69 Faces of Rock / Mark Kadzilawa interviews on YouTube. 69 Faces of Rock. You'll probably find it easiest that way. But this guy's been around for a long time. I mean, he's got interviews on here where he was interviewing Lemmy and Dio in the 90s. Super cool guy. And so he wound up, he recorded the whole show, which I grabbed a copy off of him, as well as he interviewed Brian regarding Blitzkrieg for one interview, and then Satan for another interview backstage. So got back there, met up with those 3 guys, talked to them for a bit because they've known the band for a while too. And we all just kind of hung out in the dressing room for a bit and such. Finally, I was able to get a picture of us all together. It's always been like herding cats. I can get Brian here, or Sean here, or Graham and Steve here, or Russ here. Never get them all together. So when Mark was actually getting a picture with everybody, I was just like, whoa, hold on. Let me jump in on this, because I've never had a picture with them all too. So yeah, we hung out backstage for a while. I finally got the last of the things signed that I needed to get signed regarding both Blitzkrieg and Satan. I now have everything Satan's ever released fully signed, with the exception of the Guardian demo, which I still don't have, standing offer, as well as everything signed by everybody that was on it. The only signatures I don't have would be Ian. I don't have Ian. They're not their first drummer, but their drummer right before Sean. I do have Ian Swifty. I have Swifty on everything, but I don't have Ian. I don't have Trev. And I don't have Andy Reid, which I don't know that I would ever get Andy Reid. I'm trying to get Ian and Trev. I've sent them messages and such, and both Sean, or I'm sorry, not Sean, both Brian and Russ said they'd help me try to facilitate that. So I'm trying to get them, but I'd like to have the Guardian demo before I do that. So we'll see. It's kind of a race against time. But anyway, so now I have everything. The last couple of things I wanted to get signed by the Satan Boys was I got and I meant to take a picture of it before I started, but I didn't. I think I showed it on a previous podcast with just Swifty's signature on it. But the Satan / Girl School show from June 2nd, 1983. It was Swifty's last show with the band at Dingwalls, which is also Beer Keller. But yeah, that was Swifty's last show with the band. And I got that signed by the other 4 guys because I'd already had Swifty on it. And then the Roxcalibur compilation, I got signed by Steve, Russ, and Graham, as they were on it, on the 2 Satan recordings that are on it, Executioner and Oppressor, and Oppression rather. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the Executioner Oppression 7-inch. That I forget what magazine put it out a year or 2 ago, maybe in like the Czech Republic or somewhere in Eastern Europe, if I remember correctly. There was a magazine, like a omnibus, several issues of a magazine put together. And if you bought this, it came with a 7-inch. Well, that magazine wasn't terribly expensive, but shipping to the US and everything, it was going to wind up being like $100 for this magazine and this 7-inch. So I passed it up. but Russ said he had loads of these in his garage, so he sent me one, the 7-inch, not the magazine. But I trying to get him to take some of those out on the road because I think he could sell them because they're pretty rare. But it's basically the Guardian demo on a 7-inch, one song on each side, different artwork and such. Pretty cool little deal. But I got the three of them to sign that too. And then for Brian, I've had some other Blitzkrieg stuff that I'd tracked down, as well as a couple of compilations that I had. Like, personally, my favorite New Wave of British Heavy Metal compilation, and it may be my favorite compilation ever outside of a couple of soundtracks. My favorite compilation ever is probably 79 Revisited, which was a compilation that was curated by Lars Ulrich. And it came out in maybe 91, 90, somewhere around in there. And it's got, Blitzkrieg, Angel Witch, all these various New Wave of British Heavy Metal bands, and some that were pretty obscure as well, that Lars had curated and put together, because, Lars is a huge proponent of the New Wave of British Heavy Metal. I mean, that came through massively in Metallica's songwriting, through some of the bands that they covered on Garage Inc. and some of their other 7-inches and singles and stuff like that over the years. And so Blitzkrieg is on that. So I had Brian sign that. And then a Neat Records 12-inch compilation called Lead Weight. I had Brian sign that as well, because Blitzkrieg also does a song on that. But I had some pretty rare Blitzkrieg stuff that I've finally been able to track down that was taking me forever to get. Absolutely Live and Back from Hell. Back from Hell was a bitch. I can't believe I actually finally found that. I think I got the only copy of that sold in the last 5 years online. So I was very happy to find that. I was not very happy with the price I had to pay for it. It wasn't terrible. Like, it wasn't as much as it could have been, but it still was just like, ouch, that kind of hurt. But so now I'm complete with Blitzkrieg on vinyl as well. In fact, I think the only Blitzkrieg stuff I'm missing is the first demo. I think there was a second demo tape too that I might be missing. I have Blitzed Alive, but I definitely don't have the first demo. And like I said, I think there's a second demo in there somewhere too that I might not have. But in terms of everything on vinyl, I have it. Same with Satan. So I got those signed by Brian, and got my Crypt Sermon stuff signed because, like I said earlier, massive Crypt Sermon fan. So got their 4 albums signed by most of the guys. I didn't get everyone. I wasn't able to find everyone to get everyone on it in a reasonable amount of time before everybody left, because we wound up not leaving Crucible until 2:15. And then I jumped in the car and drove for an hour and found a hotel in some random town in Milwaukee, or in Wisconsin, on the way back home, and got up after like 3 hours of sleep and drove the rest of the way home yesterday. So, but yeah, it was a great festival. Wasn't familiar with everybody that played. Siren, they're kind of a classic US heavy metal band that kind of, they had sort of 2 eras. Their original era, they were more US based and such, and then I guess they kind of broke up, and then the main guy went to Europe and formed the band back there again. I don't know a whole lot about them, but just a classic kind of Florida heavy metal sound, not Florida death metal, but more that Florida, like Nasty Savage, like that Crimson Glory, like that type of thing. If you could compare those two, which you really can't, but kind of in that vein. Now I'm second guessing myself. Was Nasty Savage even from Florida? This is something you guys will have to get used to. Is I like to fact check myself in real time. Yes, they were from Brandon, Florida. Okay, awesome. I like to fact check myself in real time. I hate disseminating wrong information. But anyway, so kind of in that vein, older guys, probably in their 50s, maybe early 60s, but great band. I enjoyed that a lot. They had a couple of albums that came out in the 80s, like maybe 86 and 89, 87 and 89, somewhere around in there. And then they've had a couple of things to come out over the last few years as well, I think. But enjoyable band. Who else was there? Let's see. So on Friday is when I went. Breaker, female fronted kind of new wave of American traditional metal is what I would consider them. NWO NWOTHM, I think is what that moniker is now, that's being used for that traditional heavy metal. Yeah. Female vocalists, I want to say they were from like Philly, Pittsburgh, somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think. Definitely East Coast, but I can't remember. And then Mercifix, who's actually out on the road with Satan right now, and it's spelled wrong here on the flyer. It's Mercifix. But they are out on the road with Satan right now is their support band on the road. And they used to be Traitor out of again, I think they're Philly as well. But great thrash band. I really, really like those kids. Like, I think they are absolutely going to do something. You know, do I think they're going to be Metallica big? No, but who is? But I think they're a name that you're going to hear more about as time goes on. They had to change their name because of the German Traitor, as well as there's probably 10 other bands called Traitor out there, if not more than that. So there was some confusion. They changed their name. I don't think anyone's ever going to confuse them again. That's a pretty cool name, and it's pretty unique, as I was telling them. Adamantis, they were kind of a Tolkien-esque swords and dragons power metal band. Not bad. I don't really listen to a whole lot of that anymore. I do fall back on your Gamma Ray, your Halloween, and so on and so forth. I cut my teeth on power metal. Like, I was really big into Manowar, although I power metal themes, but I wouldn't really call them power metal in terms of musicality. But Rhapsody, of course, and Blind Guardian, Halloween, Gamma Ray, that's the stuff I kind of cut my teeth on when I first started really getting into metal. That was kind of what I migrated towards. Manticora, bands like that. So, pretty fun band in that regard. Let's see here. Who's the other one there? Siren. High Command, thrash band, and I cannot recall where they're from, but they were a fun band too. I enjoyed them. The aforementioned Crypt Sermon, great set. I didn't really get to watch it. I heard it, but that was when I was back in the dressing room with the guys hanging out. So I didn't get to see them, but I did hear them, and it sounded great. And I really look forward to being able to stand and focus on a full set of theirs, hopefully sooner rather than later. They're just a great band. That new EP they just put out is awesome. They were doing a series of record release shows. And they're from Philly. My buddy Will lives right outside of Philly, and he was going to go to their record release show there, but unfortunately that got canceled and kind of moved into a support appearance opening up for Bruce Dickinson, which that's a huge fucking deal. So that's really cool. Congratulations to them on that, because I would really like to see them play with Dickinson. That would be awesome. And then lastly, of course, Satan. Now, I'm not going to go over the set list just because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who has not yet seen them on the last remaining few days of this tour before they head back to the UK and Brian heads to the Netherlands for their week of shows over there. But it was the longest set I'd ever seen from Satan. It was 105 minutes, is I believe what Randy clocked them in at. And while I had seen, I want to say I'd seen the entire set before, obviously in a different order. It's not the same set that they played verbatim before. And obviously not two, because this one was longer. I want to say I've seen every song in the set before, with the exception of the final song that they played, which they certainly played live before. I've just never been able to see it live. And I don't want to give it away, but let's just say fans from 1982 will be fucking stoked. I lost my mind. There was one point where I was headbanging so hard, Steve looked at me and, like, God damn. I told him backstage, I said, yeah, I was trying to break my neck during that song. I don't headbang a lot anymore. I don't have any glaring neck issues, but when I headbang, I feel it for days, and my neck is super stiff today. It wasn't so bad yesterday, but I got up this morning and there's definitely some pain and stiffness. But just a fantastic set. They were firing on all cylinders. At the end of the show, before they came back up for their encore, Russ had been kind of wrestling with his guitar cable all night, and it wound up getting wrapped around his foot. And as he was walking off the stage, it pulled his Strat down with him, and we couldn't catch it. I yelled his name because I was right there. I couldn't get to it quickly enough. And it fell. And I tell you, man, like I was super just paranoid when I saw it. I was like, oh no, something's wrong. But I'm telling you, man, Arjen, he got it back in tune if it had gone out of tune at all in less than 30 seconds. And I told Russ, I was like, Jesus, man, like I'm super pleased that happened. And he goes, that's why I play a Strat. They're just super robust. You can break them, but it's hard. So good on Fender for making a damn quality guitar. Because yeah, I mean it fell and it fell hard. No one caught it, and stand and all, and it sounded just fine for the last two songs they played. So that's pretty fantastic. Um, but yeah, not a whole lot more to go over on this one. Was planning on keeping this one kind of short and sweet. I did talk to Brian at length though on this. I was, because they apparently, and I'm super honored by this, even though it is about them. It's still kind of surreal to me that I'm able to work for these guys, and this podcast is in no way, shape, or form an official Satan property, quote unquote, but they are aware of its existence and they're very, very supportive of it. And Brian definitely wants to come on. Russ has said he'll come on. Sean said he didn't mind coming on. I gotta get Graham and Steve on board. I don't think it'll be that hard. It's just neither of them use social media or anything all that much. I think Graham has a Facebook page that he's not used in years, and I don't think Steve even has one. But we'll see if I can get them at all involved. But Brian definitely wants to be involved. He's all about it. We talked at length about having him on to talk about various things and such. And I got a lot of people lined up that want to come on the show too. Like I'm very, very stoked about what this could become. Is it going to be the biggest show in the history of the internet? Hell no, not even close. But it's going to be something that I think those of you who stick with me and our fellow Satan fans like myself are really, really going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just I plan on having some really cool conversations, I hope, in regards to just the caliber of guest I'm going to have on, as well as trying to, I'm not an interviewer. I never really have been. I did interviews and reviews and such for metalreviews.com many, many years ago. Like, I don't think I broke the news, but John Schaefer of Iced Earth did tell me if I wasn't the first person he told in an interview, I was certainly among the first people he told in an interview about the double album coming out of Something Wicked Part 1 and Something Wicked Part 2, Framing Armageddon and Crucible of Man. And I don't think he told anybody else that before he told me, or if he did, it was very soon after that he told me. But I remember sitting out in my car in a super hot summer day, sitting in the parking lot of the apartment that I was living in Athens, Georgia at the time, talking to him on my cell phone and frantically trying to write down notes as he was disseminating them to me. And that was a really cool interview that I look back on very fondly. But so I'm not a long time interviewer, but what I do have is a curiosity, and I've got a fairly large breadth of knowledge of what I'm talking about. And so I would like to think that the interviews I'm going to do, there's going to be some cookie cutter questions to kind of break the ice and such for these guys that I might not know so well. But I'm really going to try to get some cool questions going and really try to be thoughtful and mindful of what I'm asking, because I don't want to ask the same things that many of you could go back through, an episode of such and such's interview show on YouTube, or a Kerrang magazine or a Metal Hammer magazine or something or another, and read something that these guys have said before. There might be some overlap, but I'm really going to try to get down and get some cool questions answered, things that I want to know as a mega fan that maybe, people didn't think to ask before, and just I have various ideas about things and stuff too. Like I was kind of talking with Brian, and he said it would probably never happen, but just an idea that I've had for a little while about having, and I may have even mentioned this on a previous show, but having like a festival like a Hell's Heroes or like a Blades of Steel, something in that vein that can have maybe as your headliner or a co-headliner every night of if it's a 3-day festival, of Blitzkrieg one night, Avenger one night, Satan of one night, and having a little bit of a crossover where you have, Brian come out and do a couple of songs with Avenger, or Swifty come out and do a couple of songs with Satan and stuff like that. So that's the kind of things I think about. And I kind of want to bring that same energy and that same curiosity, I guess, to whatever interviews it is that I may do. Because some of these guys, I'm sure they've been interviewed before, but haven't been interviewed in years. and I really want to try to get under the surface and see what I can do. So if you guys stick with me, I promise to deliver the very best that I can in that regard. If you are enjoying this, I'd greatly appreciate the support. You know, this is not a money making endeavor for me. I'm in no way, shape, or form looking to make money off of this. In fact, I'm spending money doing this, but I'm perfectly fine with that because it's money well spent in my case. It's something that I greatly enjoy doing. What I need from you is spread the word. You know, share the content if you can. Share my socials if you can. You know, like and subscribe to my Instagram, to my Facebook, to this YouTube channel. Share the show with your friends. Talk about it amongst your friends if you can. If you've got other Satan or Blitzkrieg maniacs or New Wave or British heavy metal fans or whatever, you know, share it. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could, because I'm going to keep doing this as long as I feel like doing it. And I'm going to feel like doing it just as long as I have people that I think are watching, that I think are appreciating this. Because I'm doing this partially as a way to get my own thoughts out there and such, but also doing it partially as a way to try to organize my collection of thoughts, my collection of artifacts, and so on and so forth, so that these things are not lost to time and that they're not just relegated to a folder or a binder on my desk or on my record rack over there. These are things that I want to share with all of you that I've been very blessed to have been gifted by various people involved with the band, and things that I've been able to find on my own, either purchasing or downloading or whatever. So I want to keep this going, and I need all of you to be on board with me and enjoy doing what I'm doing, because I'm sure as hell enjoying it, and I'm hoping that it's coming through in what I'm doing. So, like I said, going to keep this episode a little shorter. That's been kind of a complaint that I've gotten about the very first episode, was it was a bit long. I hope that it went by fast, because I certainly enjoyed the conversation with Tony. He loves to talk. I love to listen. I love to talk. But if you thought that one was long, I do apologize when I have Brian on, because Brian's probably going to go for 7 hours, and I'm going to let him, because Brian loves to talk and I love to listen. I had to tell him a couple of times the other night, buddy, you got to get ready to get on stage, because he likes to give himself an hour. And it was like 10:03 and they were supposed to go on at 11. And he's just like, yeah. And he keeps going. And I was like, Brian, get ready. He's like, oh, right. So I'm going to do my best to keep everyone reined in that I have on. But, you know, if it's a particularly engaging interview, which I imagine most of these will be, or at least that's my intent. If it's a particularly engaging interview, I'm going to have a hard time shutting them off, or, you know, trying to bring them back for a part 2 or even part 3 if it's a really long one. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone being on this ride with me. You know, reach out through everything down at the bottom here. My personal Instagram is at Hellbrent for Leather, just like Judas Priest Hellbent for Leather, but my name, Hellbrent for Leather. You've got the IG Instagram, which is Cast in the Act. You got Facebook, also Cast in the Act. This YouTube channel is at Cast in the Act HBFL. And then I believe the email address for the show is castintheact@gmail.com. So if you have any suggestions, or if you've got that aforementioned Guardian demo tape, reach out to me. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to hear more from people. I'm doing this show for myself as well as all of you, and I want your input. So until next time, I'm about to head off to Prague Power and then to Europe. So it's probably going to be about 3 weeks before I get back into the saddle of things again with the show. But during that time, hopefully to give you a chance to catch up on all 3 episodes. Check out the Satan socials as well. I'm having a lot of fun posting things over there. And if you're in the Netherlands area and you are a fan of the band, I know Franz and Henry, I'm going to meet up with you guys. I'm going to try to meet up with Arjen when I'm over there. But twofold, if you are in the Netherlands and you are in the Tilburg, Eindhoven, or Amsterdam area, that's where I'm going to be. But additionally, if you're in the Netherlands area or willing to travel to the Netherlands, Blitzkrieg will be there next week. I'm sorry, not next week. What are the exact Blitzkrieg dates? Hold on. I don't want to get that wrong. Because they are doing a festival in the Netherlands next weekend. I do know that, but then they are doing some additional gigs after that. Let's see where they are, just to give them cool plug real quick. Yeah, so they are doing Metal Maniacs in the Netherlands on 9/6, and then they're going to be in just all around Europe for the next 5 days after that. So just go to the Blitzkrieg Facebook or Blitzkrieg Instagram pages for those dates. And then they'll be at a festival in France, actually, on my birthday, November the 15th, at the South Troopers Festival. So, yeah, check those guys out if you were anywhere near there. And let me live vicariously through you, because I've never been able to see Blitzkrieg live, and I would really like to change that one of these days. So, until next time, thanks.